Greetings, lifesavers. Yes, you guys are lifesavers. You're watching this video on basic CPR and AED operation should you come across somebody who's suffering from cardiac arrest. Now, cardiac arrest is something that happens over 1,000 times a day in the U.S., so the possibility is there in your lifetime that you will see someone who's suffering from cardiac arrest. We want to help you, give you the tools on how to properly assess it and help that person should you come across. First thing we want to get into is the ACT acronym, something we like to remember, something we like to use. ACT. That's assess, call, and treat. During the assessment, you're going to check for motion, check for breathing, see if the person's actually responding. Don't be fooled by these slow gasping breaths. They're actually something that could be an indication of cardiac arrest. The next thing is going to be the call. That's when you call 911. If you can't call 911, you call someone, you tell someone to call 911 for you. In the process, you tell them to bring you back an AED. The AED is the automated external defibrillator. It's a device that will help get the heart rhythm back. All right, the next thing will be the treatment. The treatment is all about the compressions. The compressions, we're going to go into detail later on in this video. I hope you guys are ready. Hey, we're ready to get started, but there's two things we need to do real quick. And I'm sorry, I know everybody's ready to get started with those compressions and that AED. They want to see what that thing can do, but we have to talk about these two. First thing being safety. You have to make sure the scene is safe. You get there, make sure everything is all right. There's no down power lines, there's no toxic gas, or like a psycho serial killer hiding behind the bushes waiting to kill you. That last one won't happen. But still, the point is this, you want to make sure the scene is safe. Make sure there's nothing that won't harm you. We don't want to turn one victim into two. Another thing you may want to check on a victim is make sure their injuries are something outside, or not something outside of a cardiac arrest. They may be bleeding or something else, and they're not in need of CPR. The second thing we want to talk about is if you're working by yourself, hey, work until you're exhausted. That life is dependent on your effort, so work your hardest and don't give up. If you have a partner, that's even better. You two can cycle out and keep each other fresh. If you have a third person, you can still cycle out between the three. You may even want to send that person out to the parking lot or the road, what have you, and have them look for EMS and direct them in, because time is crucial and saving lives. So you want to help EMS best you can, get them out to the scene as quick as possible and get that person help. So try to remember those two things, safety and working in teams, or working until you're exhausted. Chest compressions. Now, I got my buddy back there. He's going to help me better demonstrate this later, but before we get started, there's a few things I'd like to say just to kind of get you prepared for it. All right, they are called chest compressions. That means compressions of the chest. How are we going to do that? With our hands, right? We're going to use this dominant hand. It's the hand that we're going to put on the chest. Typically, you want to focus on where the ribs connect, a couple inches above that. Place the palm of your hand right there. You want to take the other hand, put it on top of it, and unlock your fingers. You want to keep your arms straight. Use your body weight. You don't want to use your arms and bend your arms, because that's going to wear you out if you have to do it for a prolonged period. You want to keep your arms straight, use your body weight, and do it in a rocking motion. Now, when you do these compressions, even though I'm moving kind of slow right now, you want to be hard and fast with it. You want to simulate the same rhythm that a heart would have, right? So when you get in that position, hard, fast motion. We'll get to it in a minute. Just something to think about beforehand. Now, upon finding an unconscious individual, you instruct someone to call 911, also to get you an AED. That's an automated external defibrillator. For the purpose of this exercise, we'll be using this model, but I do want to stress that you will see these in buildings. The AED is the only external source that can get the heart rhythm back to its natural function. The AED will not work unless shock is necessary. The benefit of using the AED is that it's automated. It'll give you instructions. All you have to do is follow the instructions. Place the pads on the victim as instructed. You'll have diagrams on each pad. Turn on the AED.
Analyzing rhythm. Everyone stand clear.
Stand clear.
Shock advised. Charging. Everyone stand clear.
Stand clear.
Everyone stand clear. Push the shock button. Shock delivered. Begin 5 cycles of CPR.
Now, after the shock has been administered, it's safe to do compressions. Typically, EMS will be about 5 minutes away, so you should be able to do compressions. I would advise you to cycle in between two compressors, two different people doing compressions in the time. Remember, the compression should go about approximately 2 inches deep.
1 minute and 30 seconds of CPR remain.
And that's 2 compressions a second, 120 compressions in a minute. Upon dealing with an unconscious child or infant, you would do much the same as you would with an adult. You would do the initial assessment, check for motion and breathing. Try to stir them. With an infant, you can tickle the feet, or you can slightly shake them. If there's no response, the next thing you need to do is check the breathing. Do this for 10 seconds.
1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000, 7, 1,000, 8, 1,000, 9, 1,000, 10,000.
If there's still no breath, you need to quickly transition to the next step. This is where it differs from the adult CPR. Infant and child CPR, you're going to do rescue breaths. Rescue breaths are done like this. You want to tilt the child's head back. This is done to clear the airway. If you're dealing with an infant, you may want to pinch your nose to keep air from escaping. You should do 2 bursts for 1 second. Assess. If the child is still not breathing, you need to go into compressions. If you're dealing with the child, you can use one hand and do compressions that go no deeper than 1 inch, 1.5 inch. If you're dealing with an infant, you want to take 2 fingers, place them in the center of the chest, and go no deeper than 1 inch. The process for both child and infant are much the same as with an adult. If you're dealing with an infant, you want to take 2 fingers, place them in the center of the chest, and go no deeper than 1 inch. The process for both child and infant are much the same as with an adult, with the exception of the rescue breaths. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed our little video on basic CPR and AED operation. Hopefully it wasn't too boring, probably, but still informative. You're almost done, but before you get out of here, we got to do a quick refresher on the things covered in the video. We'll start off with the ACT acronym, the ACT. That means assess, call, and treat. Remember during your assessment that the slow gasping breaths could actually be an indication of cardiac arrest. Remember during your call, when you ask someone to call 911, you ask them to get you an AED as well. The next thing will be the treatment. The treatment is where you start to get into the difference between the adult and child and infant treatment. For the adult, you're going to do 2 hands, 2 inches deep on the compressions. For the child, you're going to do 1 hand, 1 inch deep. For the infant, you're going to do 2 fingers and do 1 inch deep. There's also one major difference between adult, child, and infant care. For adults, we don't do the rescue breaths. For child and infant, we actually do rescue breaths. This will come when you do your assessment. You'll listen for 10 seconds, listen for breathing. If there's no breathing, then you clear the airway and you give them 2 breaths for 1 second, 2 breaths for 1 second. After you do the rescue breaths, there's still no breathing, then you go into your compressions. The compressions will be done 2 per second, 120 in a minute. That's 2 a second, 120 in a minute. Remember to just let the chest return to its normal state after each compression. Follow through with that until you get the AED. The AED is vital because it's the only external thing that actually get the heart back to its natural rhythm. The AED is automated. It will tell you everything you need to do. You just follow the voice prompts and do things as instructed with the AED. You follow this, you do everything you can, and follow through and just be that lifesaver, because that's what we're here for, right? We're lifesavers. The important thing is this: if you need anything from us, there'll probably be a link or something attached to this video so you can get more information. If not, you can always reach out to American Red Cross. They provide training. There's plenty of resources. You check the web, you'll probably find things that are near you that'll do this same training. Just get out there, be lifesavers. Thank you for everything you do. All right.